The wedding everyone talked about. The sun rose gently over the hills of Tuscany, painting the sky in gold and pink. The air carried a soft warmth, and the sound of church bells echoed through the small Italian village. This was no ordinary morning. Today, Hollywood's brightest stars, Armas and Tom Cruise, were getting married. Photographers, guests, and fans had gathered from around the world. Everyone expected glamour, grand speeches, and maybe a few surprises. But no one could have imagined what was about to happen, especially the secret gift that would leave everyone speechless. Keanu Reeves arrived quietly, dressed in a simple black suit. He didn't step out of a limo or walk the red carpet. He came through the side path, nodding politely to the guards. His calm smile carried something deeper, something that made the moment feel almost spiritual. While others came to celebrate, Keanu came for a reason only he knew. Inside the villa courtyard, Anna stood in front of a mirror. Her gown shimmered like soft moonlight, her eyes reflecting both excitement and fear. She whispered to herself, "I hope I deserve this happiness." Her maid of honor smiled but noticed something strange. Anna was holding an old letter with trembling hands. Meanwhile, Tom, full of energy, was greeting the guests. Yet even he paused when he saw Keanu in the corner, silently admiring the flowers. There was a quiet understanding between them, built years ago through respect and shared pain. The ceremony began as violins played softly. Guests rose. Anna walked down the aisle, each step glowing in the golden light. Tom's eyes softened. Yet among all the beauty, Keanu's face carried a hidden emotion, a memory that only he could feel. A few years back, when Anna was new in Hollywood, she had once told Keanu, "One day, if I ever find real love, promise you'll come. Even if you say nothing, just be there." And now he had kept that promise. As the priest spoke, a warm wind brushed through the courtyard. Petals flew, candles flickered, and the atmosphere grew magical. But there was more than beauty in the air. There was suspense. Behind the scenes, a quiet assistant was seen carrying a small wooden box wrapped in silver ribbon. No one knew where it came from. No card, no signature, only a small engraving. For the day love becomes real. The box was placed among the wedding gifts, untouched. After the vows, cheers filled the air. Laughter, music, champagne, all felt perfect. Yet when the first dance began, Anna noticed Keanu standing at the edge of the crowd, watching with a soft, distant smile. She walked over and whispered, "Thank you for coming." Keanu nodded and replied, "Some promises are meant to be kept in silence." Then he looked toward the silver box and said gently, "Open it when the night feels quiet. It's not from me. It's from kindness itself." Anna didn't understand, but something in his tone made her heart ache. Later that night, the party continued. Fireworks painted the sky, guests danced under fairy lights, and laughter filled the courtyard. But somewhere between the noise and the music, Anna and Tom found a quiet corner. The box was still there. They sat together, nervous yet curious. Anna slowly untied the ribbon. Inside was a small notebook, old and worn. Its first page read, "Love doesn't begin with a wedding. It begins when you understand someone's silence." Beneath the notebook was a letter signed only with an initial K. Tom looked at Keanu, who was now leaving through the same quiet path he came from. Anna called out softly, "Wait! What is this?" Keanu turned back with that familiar calm smile and said, "It's not a gift, it's a reminder." And before anyone could ask more, he disappeared into the night. The guests kept celebrating, unaware that a story far deeper than a Hollywood romance had just begun. That night, as Anna read the letter alone, tears filled her eyes. It spoke of a moment years ago, a night she had almost given up on acting, lost, broke, and hopeless. She remembered a stranger who had handed her a coffee and said, "You'll shine one day, just stay kind." She never knew who he was, until now. The realization struck her. It was Keanu. And this notebook wasn't just a message. It was the map of his kindness. Each page contained a note about people he had helped, quietly, without fame or credit. There were names of artists, directors, orphans, even a waitress he had helped through school. Anna whispered. He never stopped believing in people. She turned to the last page. It said, "Kindness is the only wedding gift that never ends." As the music faded outside, Anna closed the notebook against her chest. Feeling something larger than joy, she felt gratitude. What none of them knew was that the gift had another secret. A connection that would soon change Tom and Anna's lives, forever. And as the lights went out over Tuscany, the story of a silent promise, a quiet gift, and a heart full of humility had just begun. The secret inside the notebook, the morning after the wedding, the Tuscan sky was soft and pale, painted with thin golden lines of sunlight. The villa was quiet now. Laughter had faded, music had stopped, and the guests were gone. But inside the room where Ana de Armas sat, something still stirred. The silver box, the letter, and the old notebook that Keanu had left behind. Ana had barely slept. Every few minutes, she turned the notebook's fragile pages again, searching for meaning in the simple handwriting. Each sentence felt alive. Be kind before being known. Forgive quietly, not loudly. Never count how much you give, only how much heart stays after giving. They weren't just notes. They were lessons written by someone who had lived through quiet pain and gentle strength. Tom Cruise entered the room with 2 cups of coffee, his usual morning smile hiding a flicker of curiosity. "Still reading it?" he asked softly. Anna nodded without looking up. "Tom," she whispered, "this isn't just a wedding gift. This is something else. Look at this page." She turned the book toward him. On the right side was a list of names, some crossed out, others underlined. Next to each name were small words. Safe now, found a home, finished school, got the role. One name at the bottom wasn't crossed out yet. It said Maria Elena. Almost there. Tom frowned slightly. "Who is Maria Elena?" Anna shook her head. "I don't know, but look at the next page." It contained an address, a tiny town outside Rome. Below it were 3 words, "Find her tomorrow." Tom sat beside her, puzzled but intrigued. "You think this is some kind of message for us?" Anna looked at him, her eyes serious. "I think it's a message for me." That night, while Tom attended a press call, Anna quietly packed a small bag. The world thought she was on honeymoon, but she took a train to that small town written in the notebook. The journey was quiet, filled with countryside views and the soft hum of the train. She kept holding the notebook like a secret map. People around her read newspapers about her wedding, but she kept her head down, lost in thought. She didn't know what she was chasing, only that Keanu had meant for her to see something. The town was small and peaceful. Cobblestone streets, flowered balconies, and children playing with wooden toys. Anna followed the address until she reached an old bookstore. The sign above read, Luna di Carta. She hesitated, then pushed the door open. A gentle bell rang. Inside, an elderly woman sat behind the counter, arranging books by hand. When she looked up, her eyes sparkled with warmth. "You must be Anna," the woman said softly. "He told me you would come." Anna froze. "He who?" "The quiet man," the woman replied. "The one who always smiled and never said his name. But he wrote letters. And he said one day, 'A girl who believes in light will walk in holding his notebook.'" Anna felt a chill down her spine. "You mean Keanu?" The woman smiled knowingly. "Ah, so that's his name." "He came here months ago, bought books for children, paid our debts, and said, 'When kindness travels far enough, it comes home.' He asked me to give you this." She reached into a drawer and pulled out a sealed envelope. On it were the same initials. K.R. Anna opened it carefully. Inside was a photograph, an old picture of Keanu sitting with 3 orphaned children near a broken fountain. Behind them was a handwritten quote on the wall. "If you can change one day for someone, you've already changed a life." Beneath the photo was another note. "Maria Elena is not someone to find. She is someone to help find herself again." Anna's eyes filled with tears. "What does that mean?" she whispered. The old woman replied gently, "She is one of the girls in that photo. She lost her family, her hope, and her dream. The man tried to help her start a small art studio here. But when he left, she disappeared. He said maybe one day someone with his heart will bring her back." Anna took a deep breath. Then I have to find her. She spent the rest of the day asking around the village. No one knew exactly where Maria Elena was, but a little boy pointed toward a broken church by the river. A lady paints there, he said shyly. She's quiet, but her pictures are sad. Anna followed the path until she reached the small church. Sunlight passed through cracked glass windows, painting colors on the dusty floor. In the corner, a young woman sat on the ground, painting a small canvas with trembling hands. Her clothes were worn, her hair messy, but her eyes carried the same quiet depth Keanu had. Anna stepped closer. Are you Maria Elena? The woman turned, startled. Who are you? Anna smiled softly. A friend of the man who believed in you. Maria stared at her for a long time before whispering, The man who said I'd find my color again? He's gone. Anna nodded. He's not gone. He just left you a bridge to cross. She handed her the photo. Maria held it tightly, tears falling on her fingers. He said one day someone would come with a light stronger than mine, Maria said quietly. Anna looked around at the unfinished paintings, landscapes, children, and a small sketch of Keanu smiling beside a fountain. He wanted me to help you, Anna said gently, and I will. We can finish what he started. Maria smiled faintly, whispering, Then maybe his kindness will live again. For days, Anna stayed in the town, helping Maria restore her art space. They painted walls, repaired windows, and filled the church with color. Every evening, they would read from Keanu's notebook together. Each line felt like he was still there, guiding them. Meanwhile, back in Tuscany, Tom noticed Anna's absence. He searched her phone and found the address written in the notebook. His curiosity turned into worry. He didn't understand what was pulling her so deeply, but something inside told him this journey wasn't just hers. It was about something larger. When Anna finally called him, her voice was soft but firm. Tom, you need to see this place. You need to see what kindness can build from silence. Tom didn't ask more. He just said, Send me the location. And as the sun began to set again over Tuscany, two journeys, one of fame and one of faith, were quietly merging into something no one expected. Anna looked at the old notebook one last time that night. A single line stood out now. Real gifts are not opened with hands, but with hearts willing to listen. She closed the notebook, placed it on the table beside Maria's painting, and whispered, Keanu, your gift is changing more than one life. It's changing us all. And in that moment, the candle flickered as if someone unseen had smiled. The man behind the silence, the wind carried the smell of wet earth that morning. It had rained all night in the small Italian town where Ana de Armas had stayed with Maria Elena. Sunlight now poured softly through the cracked, stained glass of the old church, turning the air golden. On the walls, unfinished paintings glowed like fragments of forgotten dreams. And right in the middle of it all, Anna sat quietly, Keanu's notebook open on her lap, its pages fluttering as if alive. She whispered, almost to herself, There's something more in here, something I still don't see. Maria Elena looked up from her paintbrush. You sound like him, she said softly. He always said the same thing, that kindness hides clues if we look deeply enough. Anna smiled faintly. Then maybe he left one more. She turned to the last few pages of the notebook. Unlike the earlier sections, these pages had strange symbols and short sentences written like riddles. One read, To heal the lost, go where the silence sings. Another said, One truth hides beneath the broken fountain. Maria stood suddenly. The fountain. That's where he used to sit, Anna frowned. The one in the photograph? Maria nodded. Yes, by the old square at the end of town. He spent hours there. Said he was waiting for something that hadn't learned to speak yet. Without a word, Anna grabbed her coat, and the two walked together toward the square. Birds flew overhead, and the narrow path glistened with leftover rain. When they reached the fountain, Anna stopped. The stones were cracked, the water dry, but the base of it was covered with carved initials. She bent down and brushed off the dust. Among the marks, she found it, tiny but clear. KR beside it was another small mark, barely visible, shaped like a folded paper heart. Maria whispered, He used to make those. Paper hearts. gave them to children who came to the square. He said every folded heart could carry one wish. Anna touched the carving gently, feeling an ache in her chest. He wasn't just helping others, she said slowly. He was leaving messages for someone to finish what he couldn't. Maria tilted her head. For you? Anna looked at her but didn't answer. Her mind drifted back to the night of her wedding. Keanu's calm eyes, his quiet smile, the way he said, "It's not a gift, it's a reminder." She realized then that the notebook wasn't about charity or help. It was a map of unfinished kindness, each note, each name, a story that needed to be completed. That night, Anna sat again in the church, reading the notebook from the beginning. There were stories of people he had met all around the world. A driver in Mexico he helped rebuild his taxi after a storm. A young musician in Seoul who got her first violin from him. A nurse in Kenya who received an anonymous fund to build a small clinic. But then, one entry stopped her breath. Rome, December. Met a woman outside the hospital. She was crying for someone she lost. She didn't recognize me, but I remembered her. She once gave me water on a lonely night when I thought the world had forgotten me. I told her kindness had saved me then, and she said she was nobody. I said, nobody's kindness built everything I am. Anna's eyes filled with tears as she whispered the words. She turned the page, and there, pressed between the sheets, was a faded photo of a young woman standing beside a hospital gate. In the background, barely visible, was the reflection of Keanu in a car mirror, taking the picture. Beneath it was another note. Find her if you ever want to understand why I believe silence can save lives. The next morning, Tom Cruise arrived. His car pulled up near the church, tires crunching on the gravel. He stepped out, wearing a plain jacket, his usual confident posture replaced with quiet concern. Anna, he called out, walking inside. She turned, her face tired but full of purpose. You came. Tom looked around at the colorful paintings and the repaired windows. You've been busy, Anna smiled faintly. I had help, from someone who isn't here but still feels close. Maria approached shyly, wiping her hands on a cloth. You must be Tom. Tom nodded politely. And you must be Maria Elena. I've heard a lot about you. Anna handed him the notebook. Read this. For hours, Tom sat in silence, reading every page. With each entry, his expression softened. When he reached the last section about the woman in Rome, he looked up slowly. You want to find her, don't you? Anna nodded. He wanted me to. Tom leaned back. Then I'm coming with you. They left the next morning before sunrise. Maria waved from the church doorway, whispering, Bring back the silence he believed in. The drive to Rome was long and quiet. Mountains passed by like shadows. At one point, Anna said softly, You know, Tom, he never wanted people to see him as a hero. He just wanted people to pass the kindness forward. Tom nodded, watching the road. I understand that now. Maybe his gift wasn't just for us. It was for everyone who forgot how to care. When they reached Rome, the air was filled with the smell of rain again. The hospital from the photo still stood, old, quiet, its walls faded by time. Anna held the photo in her hand, matching angles until she found the same spot. A nurse passing by noticed her. Can I help you? Anna showed her the picture. Do you know this woman? She used to work here years ago. The nurse squinted. Oh, Maria Conti. Yes, she retired a few years ago. Lives near the coast now, in a small village called Amaro. Thank you, Anna said, her heart racing. As they walked away, Tom said quietly, Anna, if we find her, what will you say? Anna looked down at the notebook. Maybe I don't need to say anything. Maybe she'll already know. They drove again, through winding coastal roads, through mist and sunlight, until they reached a seaside village. Waves crashed against old stone walls, and fishermen greeted them with warm smiles. An old woman sat near the edge of a pier, feeding birds with small crumbs. She had kind eyes and silver hair tied in a bun. When she saw Anna and Tom approaching, she smiled. You're the ones he spoke of, aren't you? Anna froze. You knew him? The woman nodded. He came here every spring. Never said much, but he'd sit by the water, write in that notebook of his, and leave coins for the fishermen's children. He said he owed a stranger his piece and that he was paying it forward. Anna knelt beside her. "You're Maria Conti?" The woman chuckled softly. "Yes, though I haven't heard that name in a while. He told me about you once, the actress with the quiet heart. Said you'd understand silence better than most." Anna's throat tightened. "Why did he remember you so deeply?" Maria's eyes softened. "Because once, long ago, when I was lost in grief, he gave me a small folded paper heart. Said it carried my husband's last wish, to keep living with kindness. I didn't believe him then, but that heart stayed with me. I still have it." She opened her old handbag and pulled out a tiny, fragile paper heart, yellowed by time. Inside it were words written in Keanu's handwriting. "Your pain made you kind. Don't let the world take that gift away." Anna held it carefully, feeling her eyes blur. "He kept everything connected," she whispered. Maria nodded. He was like a quiet bridge between souls who forgot they were still human. As the sun set behind the waves, Anna and Tom sat by the shore, silent. Tom finally said, "So this was his real wedding gift." Anna looked at him, confused. "He didn't just give you a notebook," Tom said. "He gave you a mission, to continue what he started. Kindness as legacy, not memory." Anna looked out at the horizon where the sun touched the water and whispered, "Then we'll finish it together." But neither of them noticed that far behind, on a bench near the harbor, a fisherman was watching them quietly. In his pocket was a folded letter with the same initials, KR, and a date written for next week. And in that small moment, the wind carried a whisper over the sea, almost like a voice saying, "It's not over yet." The last letter. The next morning began with the sound of waves gently striking the rocks outside Anna's window. She had barely slept. The night had been long, filled with questions and half-remembered dreams of Keanu's calm face and the paper heart that now rested on her bedside table. She could still hear his voice in her mind, that steady kindness that never needed to raise itself above a whisper. The village was waking up slowly. Fishermen cleaned their nets, children ran barefoot across the sand, and old women talked softly outside small cafes. But Anna's world had gone quiet inside. Her heart felt heavy with something she couldn't explain. Something between loss and discovery. Tom stood at the window, watching the sea. "You haven't eaten since yesterday?" he said gently. Anna smiled faintly. "I'm not hungry. I keep thinking about that fisherman who was watching us. It felt like he knew something." Tom turned toward her. "I noticed him too. Maybe he's connected." Anna looked down at Keanu's notebook lying open on the table. The pages had begun to curl from the sea air, but one page caught her eye, its edges darker, as if pressed against salt water. She leaned closer. It was a new note she hadn't read before. "When the waves stop singing, follow the silence to the shore. The truth waits where kindness began." Anna frowned. "This wasn't here before," she whispered. Tom's voice grew low. "You think he left more than one message hidden in this?" Anna nodded. "Yes, maybe it was meant to appear only when it was time." That afternoon, they walked down to the harbor again. The fisherman who had been watching them was sitting on the same bench, fixing his net. When Anna approached, he smiled politely but with an odd familiarity. "You're the woman from yesterday," he said. "He told me you'd come." Anna's heart skipped. "Who told you that?" "The man with the gentle eyes," the fisherman replied. "He sat here every morning, bought coffee for everyone, and talked about light. Said he was waiting for someone who could carry it farther than him." Tom leaned forward. "How long ago was this?" The man thought for a moment. "A few months ago, before the storms came. He left something for you." He reached into his fishing bag and pulled out a small sealed envelope. On the front was written, "To Anna, when the heart finds the shore." Anna's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a letter written in Keanu's careful handwriting. "Dear Anna, if you're reading this, then you found Maria, and maybe you've already seen what I've tried to build quietly. I never believed kindness needed a camera or applause. It only needed someone brave enough to continue it. You always had that in you. Even when you doubted yourself, you carried warmth that could heal others. I saw it the first day we met on set, when you gave your meal to a homeless man outside the studio and didn't even think anyone was watching. I was watching. That day, I realized some lights never fade. They just wait to be shared. Anna stopped reading for a moment, her eyes filled with tears. Tom rested a hand on her shoulder, his expression gentle and quiet. She continued reading. I never told you the full story of the notebook. It started years ago when I lost someone I loved, a friend who taught me that every act of compassion becomes a thread that ties people together, even if they never meet. I began writing their stories so that one day, someone kind enough could connect those threads. You are that person, Anna, and the last page will lead you to where this all began. Go to the orphanage near Florence. You'll find a woman named Sophia. She was the first name I ever wrote in that book. Tell her the bridge has been rebuilt. Your friend, always. Kana closed the letter and pressed it to her heart. The orphanage, she whispered. That's where it all started, Tom nodded. Then we go there next. But the fisherman stopped them before they could leave. He said one more thing, he added. He said when you find Sophia, don't thank him. Thank the people who carried the kindness after him. Anna smiled through her tears. Then that's exactly what I'll do. The road to Florence was long and winding. The car moved through green hills and fields of gold. With every mile, Anna felt something growing inside her, a quiet strength she hadn't known before. Tom noticed it too. You've changed, he said softly. Since that day at the wedding, you look different, lighter. Anna looked out the window. Because I finally understand what he meant by kindness being endless. It's not about doing one good thing, it's about becoming it. When they reached Florence, the city was alive with music and colors. But on the edge of town stood a small orphanage made of old stone and ivy. Its sign read Casa della Stella, House of Stars. A gentle woman in her 60s opened the gate. Her eyes were kind but curious. Can I help you? Anna held out Keanu's notebook. We're looking for Sophia. Keanu Reeves said she would understand this. The woman's eyes widened at the name. Keanu, she whispered. He was here many years ago. She led them inside. The walls were covered with drawings made by children, stars, trees, and hearts with words like hope and smile. Sophia stopped before one framed photograph on the wall. It was of Keanu surrounded by children smiling softly. He came here after the accident, she said quietly. He was broken, but he found healing in helping others. He built the first classroom with his own hands. No one knew who he was then, not even the children. He said names didn't matter, only hearts did. Anna's throat tightened. He never mentioned this in the notebook, Sophia smiled. He never took credit for anything. But he always said one day someone would come who could carry the bridge further. Maybe that's you. Anna opened the notebook again. On the very last page, there was a single line she hadn't noticed before. When you stand where the stars and children meet, you'll see what love truly builds. Sophia looked toward the garden and said softly, Then you should come with me. She led them to the backyard. It was full of children playing under the sun. Laughter filled the air. But what caught Anna's attention was a small statue standing in the center. A simple stone heart with a folded paper one placed inside its hollow. He made this, Sophia said, and left one message sealed beneath it. They knelt down together and Sophia carefully lifted the stone heart. Underneath it was a metal box. Anna opened it slowly. Inside was a letter addressed to the one who found every name. She began to read. If you're here, it means the circle is complete. Every act of kindness I began was never mine. It belonged to the people who believed in goodness when the world told them to stop. I'm proud of you for finding them, for carrying their stories, for keeping the silence alive. But remember, kindness doesn't end with one person. It travels, it multiplies, it hides in strangers' hearts waiting to awaken. So leave this notebook here where it began and start a new one of your own. Fill it with the names you'll help next. Because love doesn't repeat, it evolves. The letter ended with 3 words that made Anna's heart tremble. You were the bridge. Anna closed the letter, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. She looked at Tom, who simply nodded with understanding. He was never just giving us a gift, Tom said quietly. He was teaching us how to keep giving. Anna placed the old notebook back inside the metal box, sealing it gently. Then she pulled out a blank one from her bag and placed it beside the statue. Sophia smiled through her tears. "You've begun your own bridge now?" As the sun began to set, the children gathered around, curious about the guests. Anna knelt beside them and said softly, "This garden was built by a man who believed that kindness never dies. Would you like to help me write a new book about kindness?" The children nodded eagerly. One little boy raised his hand and said, "What will we call it?" Anna smiled. "We'll call it The Heart That Keeps Giving." That evening, as laughter echoed through the orphanage, the ocean breeze carried the faint scent of jasmine. And somewhere far away, it felt as if a quiet soul was smiling again. But deep within the final pages of Keanu's notebook, tucked behind the last sheet, there was something Anna hadn't yet seen. A folded photograph of her, Tom and Keanu together from years ago during their first film project. On the back, in fading ink, it read, "When the bridge is ready, the world will know." And soon, the world would. When the world found out, the next morning in Florence began with a sky that looked like it had been painted in shades of peace. Soft blue, gentle light, and a calm wind that whispered through the orphanage garden. Children ran between the flowers laughing, and for the first time in days, Ana de Armas felt something she hadn't felt in years. Quiet joy. The notebook. Keanu's notebook rested safely inside the stone heart. She had left it there, as the letter asked, but her heart kept returning to it. She couldn't stop thinking about the line, "You were the bridge." It echoed inside her chest like a heartbeat. Tom Cruise stood beside her on the balcony watching the sunrise. His face looked tired but thoughtful. "You did what he asked," he said softly. "But you don't seem at peace yet." Anna turned to him, her voice gentle. "Because I keep feeling like it's not finished. There's something else he wanted us to see. Every time I think the story is over, another page opens." Tom smiled faintly. "That sounds exactly like him." They shared a quiet laugh, the kind that comes from people who've seen too much and finally understand. But before the peace could settle, Sophia walked out holding an envelope. "This came for you," she said, handing it to Anna. "A young man brought it this morning. He said someone asked him to deliver it today, not sooner, not later." Anna looked down at the envelope. Her name was written in that same familiar handwriting, steady, humble, calm. For Anna and Tom, inside was a small letter and a photograph. The photo showed a small mountain village surrounded by pine trees. Written on the back were 4 words. "The bridge is waiting." The letter said simply, "When the heart finds its way, return to where silence began." Some bridges are not built of stone. They are built of people who choose to keep believing. Tom frowned. "A mountain village? Do you know where that is?" Sophia looked at the photo. "That's San Pietro. It's far north near the edge of the Alps. There's an old wooden bridge there that was destroyed years ago. The villagers called it the Kindness Bridge. No one knows who built it, but they say a quiet man used to come every spring to repair it with his own hands." Anna's breath caught. "It's him. It has to be." Without hesitation, they packed their bags and left for San Pietro. The road was long and winding, climbing higher into the mountains. With each mile, the air grew colder and the silence deeper. Snowflakes drifted lightly on the car windshield. "Do you think he planned all of this?" Tom asked. Anna nodded. "Yes. Not for fame, not for attention, but to make sure kindness never ended with him." They reached the village just before evening. It was small, hidden between tall pine trees and rolling hills. Smoke rose from chimneys and bells rang softly from a distant chapel. At the edge of town stood the remains of the old wooden bridge. Half of it had collapsed into the river years ago, but you could still see pieces of wood that looked recently repaired. Anna and Tom walked closer. The water below shimmered under the fading sunlight. Someone had left a lantern on the bridge, its small flame dancing against the wind. Tied to its handle was a folded piece of paper. Anna picked it up. It said, "To the ones who found every name." She opened it carefully. "You made it here. I'm glad. This bridge was the first thing I ever built after losing everything. It wasn't strong, it wasn't perfect, but it reminded me that healing starts when we rebuild, even if our hands are shaking. I came here every spring to fix what the storms broke, and now it's your turn. Not to fix wood or stone, but to fix what the world forgets. its heart. Tom read the letter over her shoulder, his eyes misting. He wrote this knowing one day we'd find it. Anna looked across the half-broken bridge. Then we'll finish what he started. The villagers soon gathered, curious about the two visitors working by the bridge. When they heard Keanu's name, their eyes softened. One old man said, "He used to help us rebuild after floods. Never told us who he was, just smiled, worked, and left small coins for the children." A young girl stepped forward holding a folded paper heart. "He gave me this," she said quietly. "He said one day a lady with kind eyes would come and light the lantern again." Anna felt tears rise. "He said that?" The girl nodded. "He said, when that day comes, the bridge will never break again." So, with the villagers' help, Anna and Tom began repairing the bridge. The old wood creaked under their hands, and the cold bit their skin, but they didn't stop. They worked through the night. Even the children joined in, carrying nails and lanterns. Laughter filled the valley for the first time in years. As dawn arrived, the final plank was set in place. The sun rose over the mountains, lighting the bridge like gold. Everyone stood silently, watching as the new bridge shimmered under the morning light. Anna stepped onto it slowly, her steps echoing softly. Halfway across, she stopped and looked at the river below. "He called it the Kindness Bridge," she whispered. "But I think it's more than that. It's a promise," Tom joined her. "A promise that we'll keep." As they reached the middle of the bridge, something caught Anna's eye. A small metal plate embedded in the wood. She knelt and brushed off the snow. Carved into it were words so simple yet so powerful that they stopped her heart for a moment. "Kindness is the only bridge that never falls." Underneath the plate, someone had signed the initials K.R. Anna pressed her hand against the cold metal, tears streaming silently down her face. He knew this would happen. "He knew we'd find it?" Tom put a hand on her shoulder. "Maybe he didn't want us to find him. He wanted us to find ourselves." The villagers applauded softly as the bridge gleamed under the sunrise. For a moment, it felt as if the whole world stood still. Later that day, the mayor of San Pietro held a small ceremony renaming the rebuilt bridge. He turned to Anna and Tom and asked, "What should we call it?" Anna looked at Tom, then at the children standing nearby, each holding paper hearts like small lanterns of hope. She smiled. "Call it the Heart Bridge." The crowd repeated the name softly as if blessing it. The Heart Bridge. That night, the stars shone brighter than they had in years. The villagers held candles and the reflection of lights danced across the water. Anna spoke to the crowd gently. "This bridge isn't about one man or one story. It's about what happens when kindness moves from one heart to another. Keanu taught us that love doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to last. And now it will." The villagers cheered quietly, their faces glowing in the candlelight. As the crowd dispersed, Anna and Tom stood alone on the bridge, the sound of the river flowing beneath them. Tom said softly, "You think he knows?" Anna smiled through her tears. "He always knew." But just as they turned to leave, Anna saw something glimmering beneath one of the planks. She bent down and pulled out a small, waterproof envelope wedged between the wood. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was one last letter. "You've done it. You've rebuilt it." This was never about a bridge, Anna. It was about remembering that no matter how many storms come, kindness can always be rebuilt. "Don't stop here. There are more bridges waiting. You'll know where to go when you see the next heart." And below the signature were two faint pencil lines. Coordinates. Anna looked up at Tom, stunned. "There's another place," he smiled. "Then I guess the story isn't over." As they walked away, the lanterns behind them flickered in the wind, and somewhere far above, the stars seemed to whisper the same message Keanu had left in every page. Every act, every bridge, kindness doesn't end. It travels. The bridge that reached the world's nose still rested on the mountains when Anna and Tom packed their bags once again. The rebuilt bridge shimmered behind them like a golden memory. Villagers stood by the road, waving softly, their faces glowing with peace. Children held paper hearts that swayed gently in the cold wind, their tiny hands clutching the same hope that Keanu had once planted. Anna looked back one last time. "It feels like he's still here," she whispered. Tom smiled. Maybe he never left. Maybe this was always his way of living forever. They got into the car, the folded letter with the coordinates resting between them. No words were needed. Both understood. This journey wasn't about chasing ghosts anymore. It was about continuing a promise. After hours of winding roads and silent landscapes, they reached a small airport. The coordinates pointed to a faraway place, somewhere in Asia. Anna looked out the window of the plane as they flew through clouds, her thoughts heavy with the memories of everything she had seen. "It's strange," she said softly. "I used to think love was about being seen. Now I realize the purest kind is the one no one sees at all." Tom nodded. "You're talking like him now," Anna smiled. "Then maybe I've finally learned what he was trying to teach." The plane landed in Nepal, a land of mountains and prayer flags dancing in the wind. The coordinates led them deep into the valleys where few tourists went. Villagers guided them through narrow paths, crossing rivers and steep trails. When they reached the final point, what they saw left them speechless. A small school stood at the base of a hill, built from stone and wood, with bright murals painted by children. Above the entrance, carved into a wooden beam, were words in English and Nepali, "The Kindness Project." And below that, 3 familiar letters. Anna felt her chest tighten. "He built this too." A young teacher came running toward them, smiling brightly. "You're Anna, right? He told us you would come one day." "He told you?" she asked in disbelief. "Yes," the teacher said. "He came here many times, built this school with his own money, taught the children simple English, and told stories about stars and dreams. He said one day a woman with a heart like sunlight would visit and finish what he started." Anna's eyes filled with tears. "What did he mean? Finish what he started?" The teacher led them inside. The walls were covered with drawings made by the students. Mountains, rivers, people holding hands. In one corner was a large mural of a man in a simple shirt, sitting with children around him, reading from a notebook. Underneath the mural were more words. "To build one kind heart." "You must believe in millions," the teacher continued. "He said this place should become a bridge for children everywhere. Those who never got a chance to learn, to dream, or to be heard. He called it the kindness bridge for the world. But we still need help to finish it." Anna looked around at the half-built classroom, the stacks of bricks waiting to be placed, and the broken roof beams. She turned to Tom. "We're finishing this," she said firmly. For the next few weeks, they stayed in the village. Anna worked with the children, teaching them art and stories. Tom helped rebuild the roofs and carry supplies up the hill. Every evening, the sound of laughter filled the air again. Sometimes, when the wind was quiet, they could hear bells from the nearby temple. And each time, Anna felt that same peace she had felt in Tuscany, in Rome, in Florence, like kindness itself was moving through the wind, guiding her. One evening, as the sun set behind the snow-capped peaks, Anna sat by the edge of the hill with the children. One little girl asked softly, "Miss Anna, why are you building this school?" Anna smiled gently. "Because someone kind once built bridges for people who didn't know they needed one. And now it's our turn." The girl nodded, her eyes glowing. "So kindness is like passing the light?" Anna touched the child's hand. "Yes, and you are now holding it." Days passed, and soon the school was complete. On the opening day, villagers and children gathered together. Prayer flags fluttered, music played softly, and the sky was bright blue. Anna stood in front of the crowd with Tom by her side. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke. "This place isn't just a school. It's a story written by a man who never wanted fame or credit. He believed kindness could travel through time, through people, through hearts. Today we name this school not after him, not after me, but after the idea he lived for, the Bridge of Hearts. Because we are all part of it now." The crowd applauded, tears shining in many eyes. Then something unexpected happened. One of the older villagers stepped forward holding a small box. "He left this here for you," he said softly. "He told us to give it to the woman who rebuilt the bridge." Anna opened the box slowly. Inside was a silver pendant in the shape of a tiny folded paper heart. Engraved on the back were 5 words. "You carried it well, friend." Anna pressed it to her chest, whispering, "Thank you." That night, as stars covered the sky, Tom sat beside her near the fire. "You know," he said, "you could start something bigger. This doesn't have to end here." Anna looked at him thoughtfully. "I was thinking the same. Maybe it's time to turn his message into something the whole world can join." And so, months later, back in Los Angeles, Anna founded the Heart Bridge Foundation, a global initiative dedicated to building schools, homes, and hospitals for those in need, inspired by acts of anonymous kindness. At the opening ceremony, she stood before a crowd of people, cameras flashing. But when she spoke, her voice was calm and humble, almost whispering, "This isn't my story. This belongs to every person who ever helped another without expecting anything back. It belongs to a quiet man who taught me that kindness doesn't need noise, it just needs courage." Behind her, a large screen lit up showing pictures of the bridges, the orphanage, the children, and finally the school in Nepal with the words, "Kindness is the only bridge that never falls." The audience rose in silence. Some cried. Some smiled. Everyone felt something awaken deep inside. As the applause faded, Anna looked toward the back of the hall. For a moment, she thought she saw a familiar figure standing near the exit, tall, quiet, wearing that same soft smile. But when she blinked, he was gone. Only the open door remained, and a folded paper heart lay on the floor. She picked it up. Inside it was written, "You did it. Now keep walking." Anna closed her eyes, smiled, and whispered, "I will." Years later, bridges, schools, and shelters appeared all over the world, each one carrying a small sign that said the Heart Bridge Project, inspired by unseen kindness. Millions joined the movement, passing the message forward. In every city, every town, people began leaving paper hearts on benches, in cafes, and at hospitals. Each one carried a small handwritten note for whoever needs hope today and somewhere. Perhaps walking quietly among them, Keanu Reeves smiled, his legacy alive not through fame or fortune, but through hearts that had learned to rebuild the world with love.